Hello, 你好. Welcome to Mandarin Mama Chitchat. It is where Trista and Yao Yao, two Taiwanese moms, share intriguing conversations with amazing people from all over the world. We're super excited and grateful to have you here, and really hope you enjoy our chit chat.
Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Yao Yao. I'm so grateful that you are here. There are a million things you can do right now, but you're here listening to us. Thank you for being here every week, or if you're new, welcome. Trista and I, we're here every week to bring you amazing interview from amazing guests, to share inspiration and story from different people from all over the world to you guys. So thank you guys for being here. I want to make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast so you'll get alert from our latest episode. And make sure you go follow us on our social media, as it is Mandarin Together now on Facebook and Instagram. And we will, at our show notes, we will have free resources that you guys can download. So make sure you go check it out. Today we interview Hugo. We had such a good conversation. We feel like the 1 hour is not enough. It was so fun talking to Hugo. Hugo is born and raised in Costa Rica. He went to Taiwan to study for 5 years. He got a scholarship from this program. He told us Taiwan is like a second home to him. He loves Taiwan. And you guys, his Mandarin, I was so surprised by his Mandarin. His Mandarin sounds so good. His tones were just right on. After 5 years, Hugo moved back to the United States, and he married to his wife. His wife is from China, and they have 2 kids. Hugo and his wife is teaching their kids Mandarin and Spanish. And Hugo shared lots of amazing tips how he structure his Spanish lesson, how does he incorporate all that. He is so passionate and creative. He's also a teacher, a high school teacher, and I can just see his love for education and language. He just loves it so much. He even writing books and audiobooks now. Well, first to benefit his kids and his, friends and family, and now he's actually publishing now benefit other children as well. So it's really inspiring. I know you guys will enjoy this interview. Let's welcome Hugo. Hi, Hugo. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Yao Yao. Hi, Trista. How are you guys doing?
Good. I'm excited to chat with you because when we talk offline, you have a really interesting, family dynamic, right? You have a Spanish school, like online school. I'm gonna let you talk about that. How about you introduce yourself and your family and the school?
Sure. Okay. So my name is Hugo Miranda. That's the way you would pronounce it in Spanish, but I'm used to hearing Hugo in English and Hugo in Chinese. But
Hugo.
I like Hugo
Who?
because
Like a tiger.
yeah,
Who?
Hugo like brother tiger, because I am a tiger in the Chinese 生肖.
Oh, me too.
Oh, you too, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And I
I
also
love
know that there's a famous Chinese actor whose name is Hugo, so that is kind of popular.
And
So
it make you sound like, masculine, like tiger man, like tiger brother, Hugo.
I guess so. I guess so. And I am originally from Costa Rica, so I was born and grew up there. So Spanish is my native language. At some point, I moved to the U.S. where I learned English. And then I went and lived in Taiwan, where I got a scholarship to learn Mandarin. So to me, Taiwan is very special in my heart because it was like my second home. And after that, I came back to the US and, started a life.
How long were you
Uh,
were there in Taiwan?
I went there in 2001. I remember it very clearly because 9/11 happened while I was there.
Yeah.
And I came back in 2006.
Well, that's a long 5 years.
So that's about 5 years. It's about a good like a 4-year university, kind of like a high school experience in that time of time. The time
So
of
did you
living.
spend all 5 years in a language learning institute, or you like how long was the language learning program and what did you do after that? And also before that, what made you decide to apply for the scholarship and go to Taiwan? I'm really curious.
Oh my gosh, those are such good questions. Let's make sure I never forget them. So, in language training, I spent primarily 3 years because that was the limit that they would allow us at the 国语中心, at the Mandarin Training Center. After that, I applied to Taida, and I got accepted at the geography department. And I did 2 years, and I did not finish it because I came back to the U.S. to receive my green card, actually. So I would say, even though I studied geography, it was still more like Mandarin training as well. So I would say all the time that I was there, I was learning Mandarin. And I mean, I'm still learning Mandarin now, right?
Right. Never ending.
And yes. And
God,
then,
can I say your accent? Like your tones? Oh my goodness, it's like perfect. When you say 台大 and 国语中心, that's like perfect. I can't even tell.
oh, it took me a long time. It took me about a year of getting it wrong, getting the accents wrong. And I don't know what happened, but by the 366th day, I just woke up and I got him right. It was really weird. Something just turned the table. Kind of like, the saying goes that the more you build, the more you practice, there will come a time when you have accumulated enough and like, boom, you just get it.
It just click.
Yes. That's why we as parents should be consistent with speaking the language, right? And to Trista's question, what made me decide to go to Taiwan for a scholarship? So at the time, Costa Rica had diplomatic relationships with Taiwan. And so this opportunity was offered all to citizens of the country. And there was an interview process. And I remember I had 3 main reasons that I have practiced and, rehearsed before going to the interview. And well, this is me. I was 22 years old, so I was kind of young, right? So if the reasons sound kind of silly, okay, don't judge me. But one of them was that I during the high school time and university time, I loved reading about Confucius. And I don't know why. I just loved digging into his sayings and kind of like reading into what it meant. That was one reason. Another reason I gave was that I had a very good friend in high school. We were very close, and she was from Taiwan. And so we known each other. We had known each other for a long time. And she had made me get closer to the culture and understand a lot about the food and about the language, even though at that time I spoke no Mandarin. And my last one was actually, I may not look like it, but I'm 1/8 Chinese. Some people call me, what do they call him? An egg is yellow inside, white in the outside. So I'm not sure if I count as an egg. I still haven't found something that is brown in the outside and yellow in the inside. So that would be it if I am Hispanic, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm brown or white. And that's because my great-grandfather immigrated from Hong Kong to Costa Rica. So those are the 3 reasons that I gave why I wanted to learn Chinese. My family had lost a lot of the language and a lot of the connections. I would see certain things that were Chinese inspired in the house, and nobody really knew where they had come from. So it was something about that I wanted to dig inside to myself to discover. So those are the 3 reasons I gave. And I got the scholarship. I was one of the 12 people who got the scholarship to go to Taiwan that year.
Wow, sounds very highly selective, and that's impressive for you. So
Oh,
prior to coming to Taiwan, obviously you had like personal connections and you know, the culture and you read Confucianism and that. But did you learn Mandarin on your own prior to it, or before going to Taiwan, you basically knew zero Mandarin?
yes. I had tried with books and on my own, but I don't know. I can never pass the 我你 Tom and stuff like that. And I didn't know so many things about the pronunciation. And so I never really got past it.
So when you went to Taiwan, you start from zero then.
Yes, I would say so. I was
That's great.
mispronouncing everything. Uh, I was really scared. I was really scared because it was a very different language and I didn't know. It was one of the things where I told my dad, I don't think I'll be able to do it. And then he told me, you'll be fine. It's their language. They know how to teach it. It's like, okay.
Okay, then can you share with us the beginning stage when you first went to Taiwan in terms of culture, language learning, and just everyday life? How was it like? And after, when did you start feeling more comfortable in terms of all aspects?
Do you
Mm.
Language,
like, yeah? Do you like
food.
the food? Yeah, because you mentioned in the beginning you feel like Taiwan is second home. Like, what make you feel like you know so attracted to Taiwan? Why is it feel so much home to you? Was it the people, the food, or what is it?
Oh, that's such a broad question. So let me, first off, there are certain things of Taiwan that I would never get used to. Uh, but then still, they're still part of Taiwan, and that's why they make me love Taiwan. But like say right up front, 臭豆腐，我受不了。
That's a bit 太臭。
It's stinky tofu. Never got used to it. Every
We get
time
a
I
lot of
feel,
that. We get a lot
yes,
of that.
yes. Uh, I tried it this time, and they said it tasted good. And I hadn't tried it in a very long time. And it could be tender and all that. So it's the texture that is tender, but I could still smell it. So I didn't enjoy it that much.
It's the smell, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So quick story. My sister-in-law, she's from Ecuador. She married into our family, Taiwanese family. She is a foodie. She eats everything. Intestines. She's willing to try everything. One thing, she's like, no, no, no. You guys stay away from me when you eat stinky tofu. She can't. She just can't.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, you have to picture, me, a person who's always lived in the West, going to Taiwan for the first time, and going across the Pacific and across time zones, and I had never experienced jet lag before. And for the longest time, I thought it was the weather, but I didn't know why I felt so sleepy all the time. And it's kind of dumb because I'd never experienced the jet lag before, you know. So that was one thing. And then when we arrived, it was August, September. It was so hot. It was so hot and so humid. And then it's like you arrived in Taiwan, you land, and everything just hits you in one instant, and it's all of it all together. And at one point, it turns a bit overwhelming, right? So we would see, like, we weren't used to the Vespas or the motocha, or whatever you want to call it, the motorcycles on the sidewalks. We had never experienced that, so we had to watch out for that. And there were other things that people will do on the sidewalks that we were not used to. So we would, the only way to cope with that was just talking about it and, you know, um, complaining to each other. Why is this like this? Why is it this? Why is it that? Because that's our brains trying to decipher what's going on here, right? Some people could not get over that, even though they had been there for uh, 5 or 6 months, and so they left. But others like me, they just stuck to it. right? And that's where we succeeded to learn the language. We were able to stand it. And the other part of the question that you asked me, what was it? How did I get used to it? Was it that? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
even just like some culture shocks. I mean, you share stinky tofu and then the motorcycle. My husband's from America. He calls it a motorcycle army, uh, and and other things, and also how to navigate everyday life with limited Mandarin proficiency in the beginning.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, so at the beginning, we had our comfort foods, our anchors, where we would feel safe and comfortable. So our routine basically was, and I selected our morning classes to take advantage of the rest of my day. So we were 2 hours of classes from 8 to 10. Okay, pretty much after 10, we would just hang out with our classmates over in the dating. So there's a floor area, like a hallway with tables where everybody would hang out, and plan for the lunches. Plan who you go to lunch with, and then we will go downstairs and walk to the night market, or the lunch area for ourselves, which was the 师大夜市. So that night market in 师大. So after that, we would plan for our lunches, go there. And in the afternoon, after lunch, was basically writing characters all afternoon, listening to music, hanging out with friends, sometimes at home, sometimes at the school, at library. And then it was time to look for dinner, right? But now, what I want to mention of the anchors, so there are certain things that for the longest time we just had to do, like McDonald's. We were not used to the food, okay, for the longest time. So, okay, safe haven, McDonald's. But then at one point that gets old, right? And so you want to try something different, and then you ask a friend, "Where are you guys going?" "Oh, we're going to go to this place. What are you guys going to eat there? What do they sell there?" Right? "Oh, they sell fried rice." "Okay, yeah, I'm good. Let's go have some fried rice." Okay. And then you go with them, and they're hopefully more experienced. They've been there for longer than you. And then you pay attention to where you put the tagogo, so the check marks on the, I don't know, the 菜单 on the menu, right? So that okay, where did you put the check mark? Okay, I'll try to remember this character. I'll take a copy of the menu, okay? And so you would eat that also for a long time until it got old, until you started looking for something else. Little by little, you started getting more comfortable with just ordering, right? Because at some places you just have to speak to order, and you just have to practice it, over and over again before you order it. And so little by little, we started saying things like, like 炒饭, okay? And then, oh, but we really like the ham fried rice that they had in there. And then this friend of mine would say, "Oh, yes, yes, I really like the waitress there. Let's go there." Okay. But you have to order the ham fried rice. And so everybody was practicing 火腿, getting it wrong and getting it right. So just little by little, we started learning the vocabulary of the food. At some other, since the weather is hot, you learn how to say ice cream, so 冰淇淋 and stuff like that. So just little by little, that's how we those were our anchors. And after that got old, we just moved on to another challenge. And it was so self-paced, nobody pushed us. We were all going our own speed.
Nice. So you say you left, like you went to Taiwan after like in early 20s, so it's after college, right? So what is your like what was your major? What, because you mentioned after Taiwan you came back to the States, and supposedly like, so what do you do? What was your background and what do you do now?
Okay, sure. My major back then, I started biochem, but then I moved to English honors. And I didn't have the chance to finish it back then because I went back to Costa Rica to see after my family, my mom and my brother and sister. And there I started teaching ESL. Um, After teaching ESL for about 4 years, I saw the opportunity in Taiwan, and I kind of picture myself wanting to be that Indiana Jones that was going to foreign lands and learning foreign languages. And I thought that with English, I was good enough that I wanted to learn something new. So I saw the opportunity and I went there. While in Taiwan, I for the first year, they you were not allowed to work because you were getting a scholarship, we were getting a stipend, we got flight tickets. So pretty much everything was paid for. But after that, I was able to get a side job teaching English in Taiwan, and it was kind of funny because you're just walking by a sidewalk, and then all of a sudden there's a buxiban or something, like a cram school or after school English school, and then the manager just pulls you on the arm and say, "Hey, do you speak English? Do you wanna work here 1 or 2 hours a week or something like that?" And it's like, "Oh, sure. What do I need to do?" So we would chat and talk about the experience that I had before. And at that time, I had the experience teaching ESL, so I was not that bad. So I did that for while I was there. So that's how I was able to survive there for longer than most. Coming back to the US, I got into localization, which is basically the industry that translates one language, English, into another language for like websites. At this time, 2006, the internet is booming, and all this localization that the companies want to translate their content into other languages. So I was in charge of Spanish, for example. That gave me the opportunity to go back to university and finish my degree in linguistics. And I did not know I would actually be a linguist in the closet because I did not know anything about it until I started researching. And also because you would get an advantage if you spoke a second or a third language. You would just like cut out a lot of that time of going to school. So I finished that rather quickly in about 2 years. And I got into gaming localization. So I worked at a major video game company in the localization department. I did that for a long time, more than 10 years. And there was something that clicked in me that was kind of missing, and that was going back to education. And at this point, I had already started teaching my kids Spanish, and I designed my own materials. And so they made me write books for them because I got tired of printing out loose sheets. So I just put them all together into a book. And then my kids' classmates, who, of course, we're also a Chinese family with Chinese friends outside, and they wanted to just get their kids up to speed with Spanish because they had no way to support their kids in Spanish education in the house, right? So then I was using my books with them. And at some point, it got to, well, I might as well just focus 100% in education. And currently, I teach at a private high school, middle school and high school, Spanish and Mandarin. Wow, what a long story. I'm so tired. I might as well get some
Wow.
tea.
You have like the language trifecta, like English, Spanish, and Mandarin. Like that, these are the three most spoken language in the whole world, which is quite amazing. Now, is your wife Taiwanese?
My wife is not. She's from the mainland China, Zhejiang province.
Zhejiang. Okay, so she speaks fluent Mandarin as well then.
Yes, our setup, our language setup in the house, our language structure is that my wife and I speak Mandarin to each other.
Wow.
We tried English, but maybe I wasn't patient enough. So so we went back to Mandarin, which was easier on a day-to-day basis.
So Mandarin is her first language.
Mandarin is her first language.
Got it.
Well, I don't know.
Is it?
It depends on what you think of as the first language, because they are from a city in Zhejiang, and they speak their native language there. So I guess that's what they start learning at the beginning before going to school. So she knows that language.
Different
And
dialect.
so that's Zhuji Hua, because it's in the city of Zhuji. And then they learn Mandarin at school, right? So she has those two going.
I see.
Then with my kids at the beginning, ever since before birth, I would speak Spanish, starting off speaking to the tummy, which is a really good training, not for the baby, not for the mom, but for the dad or whoever's going to speak that language. Because we had to get used to speaking to the walls and not having any responses, which is very unnatural, very unnatural. Sometimes a
Yes.
lot of the parents who want to start another language in the home cannot break through this barrier of just talking and not getting a response, right? So it was really good training for me. And so I speak Spanish to both of them. My wife speaks Chinese to both of them, except when they do math and homework. And so my kids speak Spanish to me. My kids speak back in Chinese and English to mom. And sometimes when we're all included in a conversation, everybody kind of follows the thread of what's going on. There are some instances, sometimes there might be some slight misunderstandings because they catch some words here and there and they know what the topic is. But when it comes to saying yes or no, they get kind of lost. So what are we doing again?
Man, they
Because
have to switch really fast. They have to switch the language real fast. Like dad's Spanish, mom is Mandarin. Then if you guys all have a conversation, it's do they get confused?
I don't know what you would say as confused. They ask for clarification, but as to getting confused, I would say that's normal because they would ask for clarification. So, what are we going again? When are we going? Things like that. So they might get hung up on some details, but then they ask right away. So, you want to call that a confusion? I would say yes. I wouldn't say it's a negative kind of confusion. I wouldn't say like, oh no, I'm lost or I don't know what I'm gonna do. But they're follow along. So I think that's great.
How old are they?
My oldest is a boy. He's 14, and my youngest, who's a girl, is 10. So soon to be 11.
Very nice. So I am assuming English still their strongest language, right? What would be the second one? Are they better in Mandarin or Spanish or pretty equal?
So I would say English is the strongest because that's their language of learning at school. So a lot of vocabulary, like English vocabulary, reading books, uh, science terminology, things that are not normal day to day. That would be the number one, right? Spanish would be their second strongest. Um, I tried in my books in the stories that I write. I have a range of vocabulary, it includes science, geography, and things like that. So they don't do bad at those. And I also focused on a lot on pronunciation, which gives them like a gateway to understanding and absorbing new vocabulary faster. Once you can pronounce something like a native speaker, it's just easier to remember. So they could access that really quickly in case they needed to, say, live in a Spanish speaking country, they would catch up really quickly. Now, with Mandarin, we have delayed a lot in terms of the writing, because writing it's a big barrier, right? And one of the things that I've talked about here with my wife is that uh, when we are teaching Mandarin to kids here, especially in the home setting, we should not throw in the characters right away. We should just start from pronunciation and getting ahead of how to pronounce things, how things come together when we put tones together, right? And getting the basics. Once we got that, we can start doing the characters little by little. Because we're in a different setting. If we were in Taiwan or in China, they write the characters every day. They already speak it when they go to school, so they don't have that barrier. But when we do it here outside a country where it's not native, where you don't hear it every day, then it's kind of like we're we're fighting two fights. We're fighting two different wars at two different fronts, and that can get overwhelming. And for my kids, that was reason enough to stop at some point. It was just too much. So, but now I told you we just came back from China, one trip to China and Taiwan, and it was pretty mind blowing positively because, well, first we get there and then, we start getting used to it. You spend 24 hours, 48 hours, and they won't speak that much. They will just hear, they understand everything that's going on. They know what to say if they want to eat something specific or not. And then after a few days, like fifth, sixth day, all of a sudden they just turn around and say something. It's like, whoa, he just said he wanted to eat noodles, but I never heard him say that sentence ever, like so fluently. Like, boom, 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 boom. 你要吃什么？早饭要吃什么？我要吃面. And it was just 3 words, 4 words. And we had never heard them say like a full sentence before. It's just
Do they,
it was
when they
amazing.
speak normally, like here in the state, do they, because like this is my daughter, I want to eat mian, like, half and half. Do they do that, or just?
I think they do that, but we as speakers, we choose the easiest way down, right? So whatever that comes down faster. So I think your daughter is pretty much saying that she just wants to eat doesn't want to eat just any pasta. It's just this specific pasta, which just everybody's calling mian, right? But yes, they do that. I don't know any specific instances. Oh, so my daughter this time, she would really enjoy going to the local, go down the street and go to the local street to the convenience store. And for some reason, she just started calling that the 夜市. So she would say,
she likes the 夜市. She likes the night market. Then.
So she would say, let's go to the 夜市 again. And then for the longest time, why Paul, she did not know, grandma, she did not know what she meant until at one point we said, no, she means going downstairs to the local convenience store. She calls that the 夜市. Okay, just follow along, kind of like that. So yes, they would do that too.
So going back really helped a lot with the language then, right? Just in the immersed environment.
Oh, yes. Well, on multiple levels, getting back to family, seeing things again. I mean, we hadn't been back in 5 years, pre-COVID era, right? And my son was 8. And between 8 and 14, well, they grew up a lot. They also almost unrecognizable. And so they're just reinforcing those memories. And along with that comes the language, culture, seeing family, seeing things in a different light, understanding, recognizing some of the differences. There's one instance where I could pinpoint that this was going on because my son would say, interesting, the traffic here, the traffic lights are different here. And he would go on describe how the traffic lights were. So that is just showing you the tip of the iceberg, because deep inside, this is happening on multiple levels, right? He's just mentioning this thing with the traffic light because that's the most obvious. But deeper, at the cultural level, at the language level, that's all going on too. Maybe they don't have words to express it yet, but that's evidence that change is going on.
Wow, like that. First, there's just like so much to unpack, and thank you for sharing all of these. My one question I have is so your kids are learning Mandarin and Spanish from you and your wife. I know you mentioned about like writing to be like postponed or like like get the speaking down first, but are you like at home, do you have a designated hour, or like how do you reinforce reading and writing? And are they taking language classes at school?
in order.
So let me see. How do I start? So, well, there is a designated time for Spanish. Okay. And that is, I think, 2 hours of study. So I had to go through a lot of obstacles to get this started. And because I first started off by taking some time in the evenings just with them individually and say going through alphabet in Spanish, right? Even though the letters look the same, the sounds are different. And I didn't want them to I didn't want them to transfer some of the English sounds into Spanish, right? So I was very focused on that. But very soon I realized they would not take that very seriously. And so I had to think of a strategy to make them think that this was serious stuff. Okay. And at the time, the solution was, well, we have to give them an environment. They have to understand that this is class time. Okay. That this is important. This is not just daddy and me time. Okay. So that's when I came up with the language club idea. Okay. So I told them and with mom that we would start a language club and we would invite their friends to join. Okay. And their friends were, kids of our friends who were going to the same school. On their end, they told their kids, were you going to Spanish class? Okay. So these two different stories are going on, and then they come together and they sit at a table and I stand. So that is more like a classroom setting. And then I'll just give them material and talk for a little bit. And then they do some writing because they were already good with literacy, right? They were about 6 or 7, so they could write. And that's what kept me going. Like I said before, I would give them loose sheets, and at one point we started, putting them together as in a book. And then I remember one instance where, well, I need to put in a cover for these books. What do I do? I don't want to pay for art. And then I turned around and, oh my God, look at all this artwork that's been done by my daughter for 4 years of art classes and, that we paid. And so I just picked one and I put it there as a cover and I showed it to my daughter and she was so happy. I even put it in the inside of the book, art by so-and-so. She took the book back to school. She showed it to everybody. She was so proud. And at the same time, we are succeeding at the Spanish club, the Spanish class. So that was their designated time. Same story, kind of like for my son, where we would get together. It gets, that's how it all started with the language club. Now, outside of the class time that they have at home with me, I give them homework, which is a lot of recording and listening, just recording and listening, recording and listening. And it takes some getting used to, but the kids get used to it really, really fast, faster than adults. They take a little bit of tutoring, or this is how you record it, this is how you upload it, but kids just love interacting with the technology. And it's just different once to speak, but it's just different to just put it on a phone or an iPad and record it because you're interacting with it. I don't know. So they take about, I don't know, they could take about 30 minutes of recording just 3 things that the listening, it's about, it's a story that's about a minute and a half. And they just have to read it and record it. And they've been doing this for years now. So that's how I manage their practicing outside of my class. In school, they do have a Spanish class, which is, I don't know, maybe 2 sessions a week, but it's not challenging at all. And they're also with kids who are maybe belong to a different culture, so they don't speak it at home. So my kids just take that class for fun.
So basically, your
because they
kids
just
are heritage students, heritage, while they are placed with non-heritage students.
right.
Gotcha.
Now that is the story with with Spanish. With Chinese is quite different because um well, I did not have the authority to take on the Chinese in my own hands at home because I'm not the native speaker. So I did not intervene. So I said, okay. So at first they started doing classes at home, but that did not go through very well. Uh, they kind of started with the traditional kind of way of teaching. And then we got teachers outside, and then we've got school outside too, but it's all just very old traditional. And so we stopped for a long time. So we just settled for it's okay. They can speak it at home. We don't have to do it for now. And we did a little more. We get back to it during COVID, but then we gave up again. And then at one point, we decided that our kids were not good at online classes, and it was very difficult for us to find in-person classes. Um, but now, my daughter, we just registered my daughter at a local Chinese school, and it's like a year-round school. So is going to be going to Saturday Chinese classes. It's about 3 hours. She just took a test yesterday. It was interesting. I wasn't there. And my son, I think it's not time yet. He is very busy with sports and with other academic subjects. But I think, well, he's going to take an evaluation test for Spanish. So I think in high school he's gonna get to an advanced level. And after he's done with the 2 years of minimum foreign language in high school, he's gonna have to take Chinese. And for him, that's not gonna be a problem then, to take Chinese one, and he already understands pretty much everything. He can concentrate more on writing and developing that more. So that's our situation up to now.
Wow. It just gave me a really good idea. So I teach Mandarin, and I do students like add puzzle and things like that, have them record themselves or watch video, right? And to respond. But I never thought about doing that for my own kid. He's 4 years old and he loves recording himself and taking pictures. But I just never thought about doing that. So you basically are a teacher at school as a work, but you're a teacher at home too, the way you do it for your kids. And I love to hear that they are responding it really well. They're listening, because I feel like my one fear would be, what if my son just don't listen, and how do I hold him accountable? Like, because sometimes I feel like being a parent, also being a teacher, that could be tricky dynamic too. So I'm really glad to hear that's working out for you so well.
Yes, the thing about recording themselves, it's not. I mean, it's this entire task that takes some getting used to. So we start really slowly, and they need the structure. Like, for example, I think listening it's maybe just as important as speaking. I always tell my students that uh, they have done a lot more listening than speaking in their lives. And I just asked them that I could ask you too. How long do you think we spend listening from the time that we were born? Oh, I asked him in a different way. What did you do the most from birth to 3 years old? And they go like, uh, I don't know, eating. I don't know, sleeping. Yeah, sleeping would be right. Okay, what is the second most activity that you've done the most since birth? And some people say listening, but some people I just give them the answer. Well, it's listening. You've done a lot of listening from the time before that you were born up until when you started speaking. You did a lot of listening. And then I take out a calculator and I do the listening time that they done. I'll say, let's say that you were awake for like 12 hours. Okay. And then 12 hours in a month, in a year, in so many years. And we come to a number in hours of listening. And then, you got to this point in English or Mandarin or any other language, and you're so good at it because you spend all this time listening. How long do you think you have to listen to get to this other language? Is an hour going to be enough? Is just listening in class going to be enough? So I give them the structure. So I have recorded audiobooks, and they have to listen to that 3 times before they do one recording. So there is 3 times more listening than speaking. Okay. And then they do that recording, they bring it back, and then we listen to it together. And then if there's a word like, say, taco, and they say taco like that, and they're like, we'll stop the recording and say, oh, wait, it should be taco. So the T sounds different. It's not ta. You see the puff of air? The puff of air when you ta, ta. Well, we don't do that in Spanish, and people think that it's like spitting out. So that's not nice. Can you say taco? And sometimes they can get it right away. Sometimes they don't. For some, it takes a longer time to get it. And then we start curving the pronunciation like that. So then they understand that it's not a matter of just recording. I'm done. I did it once. Success. No, it's a process. We take it little by little and we analyze each of the sounds, and they realize that, oh, so it's not just the recording thing. There's something more behind it. There's the pronunciation thing, right? And it just because of Chinese, I did not know before learning Chinese that there was this different sounds. I spoke English, I spoke Spanish. I did not know about aspiration before Chinese, because you have to say ta and da and da, ta. Those were different sounds, and I can make them, I can control them. But just as a bilingual speaker, I did not know that. I did not know about aspiration. So now I use that to my advantage to show it to kids. So they take that as a research. They take something as something that is studied. It's not just recording for the sake of it. It's recording for improving pronunciation. So this entire structure is built up around this recording themselves. Because if you just ask them to record themselves, then they'll do it once, and one task is done once, and then it's done, right? So that's why I had to build this entire, concept around it, because I wanted them to listen more and to record more. And after a while, they stop questioning it. They fall into the habit, and they just do it without questions.
Nice. Okay. So you share that you write books, and then you record audiobooks. So these are just for your students and your kids, or you are actually publishing them and they're available in the market?
After I started putting together the loose sheets that I had, I had no idea how to publish things, and I just looked to Amazon, and I just went through the process of the publishing that they have there. Because I figured, I don't know how to do any of this. I'll just get it wrong, and hopefully they'll tell me what's wrong, and then I'll get it right. So it took me several attempts, getting a cover, getting the format right, putting it together. At the time, I only had like 10 sheets for a book, and for a minimum of a book, I think they require 24. And I was like, I have to come up with 24 pages of content. Oh my God. Well, the books now are longer than that, of course. But it was going through that painful process. And so that is how I got started publishing books. I published book 8 as the first book. And then I was very surprised to hear that my daughter and her friend were like, oh, so what is the next book? Can we see the next book? Like, oh, it's not written yet. So I had to get to working on the books, the late nights, to get them ready, and just scramble for pictures again. I just went back to my daughter's art collection, and I got it there, and all of a sudden it just came up. And then that's how little by little they started. So, do you guys like these books? Do you like reading these stories? Oh yeah, we love the stories. Okay. So I started like writing more and more stories, and then I go, well, if they're going to listen to it, I don't have the money to go and pay an actor to record them. So I just got a microphone, and because at my previous work we would also deal with a lot of dubbing for localization. So I had met a lot of famous voiceover actors all over Latin America, and I had visited studios in Argentina and in Mexico, and I had done some audio editing myself. So I was like, why don't just mimic what I had seen other the studios and just pretend that I'm one of the actors, and then start controlling how I speak instead of like the pops and things like that. And so I'll used all that knowledge to my advantage. So I started recording and editing the audios and published them on YouTube, because that was
Wow.
the easiest thing for them to go. I could give them the link and I could go and listen. Give them the link, and they just love going to pressing the link and go listen and look at the book. I don't know. It's just this going through technology. It's a different. They're internet natives. They're computer age kids, so they just love interacting with technology in order to get something done. It's not like the way we were raised, right? So that was the easiest thing for me, to put the audiobooks on YouTube so they could get them there, and then get the books out of Amazon so they could follow it. And that's how I started developing all the books, and then make them congruent and make a series. So right now we have from reader 1 to reader 16. And I remember that for reader 5, I have an A and a B, because I needed to add more stories in between. And in the stories, earlier on, I would realize that there were certain things about my upbringing that I wanted to share with them, and I would share it with them in car rides, or tell them, "Hey, look at this video, or look at this song I used to listen to." They don't pay attention to that. They won't remember it. And then I figure out how. What if I just put it in a story, and the story is gonna go talk about this song, and this song is here. And so guess what? Now when it's in studying material, they get to listen to the songs that were dear to my heart when I was growing up, that I wanted them to get exposed to. And they'll ask for it when they're in the car. I want to listen to that song again. And they'll say the name of the song in Spanish. And they'll say, "Oh, yes, I like that song too." Oh, little did you know that I had to think of a way to sneak that song into you, because they would just not remember it when I just shared it with them. So I found out a way to share all those memories, all the nostalgic moments, things about cities that I've visited, names of places that are worth visiting, things about songs, TV shows that I used to watch that they should be worth knowing. Right? They're all in the materials that I use to teach them Spanish, so they are familiar with that by way of their studying. And
So the books, they are chapter books, because you say from range 5 to 16. Are they, some is more like a picture book, some more like a novel chapter books?
so they're not chapter books in a way that you would think of as is it Treehouse? What's the name of that English book? The Treehouse. They're not like stories like that. They are, well, some are conversational, some are just informational text. So I wouldn't say that there's like a continuing story throughout the books. They're more like little chapter, little topic stories, and they start, like, say, in the earlier books, they would go about 100 to 150 words, and go with topics such as Celia Cruz, who is a singer, or we talk about fruits like el tomate, so we talk about the tomato. Um, so they're like little informational stories come together, and as they go along, there's more words, there's more grammar involved, and longer stories with like, for example, there's another one that I have of a travel log of a friend of mine who went to Peru, and this amazing trip in Cusco and other areas. So I was like, uh, I really like the story. Can I interview you so I can get some things down and write it down? That's a trip I want to do as well myself. So I wrote it down as a story, and that's the story that my kids read. And it was basically, I went from here to here, I did this, I went from here to here, I saw this, and so on and so forth. So they're like individual capsules of knowledge, I would say. Of course, after a story, there's the part of the vocabulary. So that's one part, like there's a vocabulary part. And then another part of the same lesson, of the same chapter, would be questions and answers about the story. So there's sets of like 4, 5 questions, and the answers along with that. The answers you can easily find in the text. Then I have exercises that are, I believe that language learning should be easy, because you have to get through it. And if you get through it, you're succeeding. So I have exercises that are easy, such as match the translation. So I have one sentence in Spanish and one sentence in English. You just have to match it. They go through that like really quick. And then I have another exercise, which is match questions to the answers. And in this time, we have questions in Spanish and answers in Spanish. So they have to look a little closer to match those. And then in the same lesson, I have yet another a paraphrasing exercise, which I call change a word. They have one sentence, and then they have different elements that they can paraphrase with. So there's A, B, and C. So let's say if I would say something like, I like tomatoes, and then we go A, cucumbers. I like cucumbers. And C, I dislike cucumbers, and so on and so forth. But I'll just give them only the prompts. So you have to remember the first sentence and then change it. And then remember that previous sentence and then change it. So this is all without writing. So that my hope is to extend their muscle, their brain malleability, so that they can remember it, retain it, and then change it. So it's a bit of a dynamic paraphrasing exercise.
Yeah,
So
it sounds
all
like
of
just not. It sounds like it's just not a book. It's very interactive, like activities too.
Yes, the way, it's when they look at the exercise, a lot of the students look at the exercise and they think that is just putting A, B, and C all together in a different sentence. And I have to coach them on how to walk through the exercise. So if you look at the book, you wouldn't really know how it is done unless you either hear it, and this is all recorded in audiobooks as well. So you listen to it first 3 times, and then you do it yourself. Then when they come back to the class, we do it orally as well. Some people really like writing it. So at the higher levels, I ask them to, okay, so just write it down.
I like this so much. So what are the names for the books, or where can we find you? Like, I really want to recommend this to the Spanish teachers in my school.
Oh, sure. Well, the books are found via Amazon, and you can find them as Mundo Beyond, and that is Mundo, Mundo. It means world in Spanish. And beyond is a play of words, such as beyond, like beyond this world, with an O at the end. And the idea is that language learning is like stepping beyond your own world.
Love it.
So they are found as Mundo Beyond Spanish readers. So they're found on Amazon. I also have a website that is www.mundobeyond.com. And on YouTube, I think I don't remember. I can give you later so you can put it in notes. I think it's Mundo Beyond Spanish. That is the YouTube channel. And
Very
when you
holistic.
browse,
very holistic.
When you come to the YouTube website, you'll see some inspirational shorts that I've created that are just for fun, and some student projects. But then the core of the website on YouTube is the playlists, because you have the playlist, which is basically the audiobooks for the books that are available for free.
I feel like you have so much passion in language learning because you have a full-time job, you teach at school, and here we go, have a language club teaching your kids and their friends Spanish, and then you're writing a book, publishing books, and and YouTube, just so much you are doing, so passionate and dedicated.
It's what I had to do,
Hmm.
because I saw that my energy was not being used the best way when I was just telling my kids to do things. I had to create this entire structure. It's like build a world around them, kind of like the
Yeah.
Truman Show. You remember that movie, The Truman
No.
Show? The Truman Show, about the Jim Carrey movie where he is put into a world that is fictitious, and then
Uh-huh.
he believes that his world is true, right?
Uh-huh.
So I kind of had to build a world like that where my kids would be Truman,
I
where
love.
Spanish was a living language that was usable, that was useful outside their own world.
Yeah.
And I had to go through all this structure of writing books and creating steps for them to get through the audio, to get through the recordings, so that I would get to my goal of wanting them to hear them in Spanish, which
Uh-huh.
is just there are very few things that will make me happier than just listening to them speak Spanish.
Oh, I feel that. I feel like for my kids, when they speak Mandarin, and when I see them communicate with my mom and my grandmother, their great grandmother, and because they don't know English at all, it just makes my heart so warm. Like, okay, it's not wasted. We really have to keep going on this language journey. You just stay more connected with your family that doesn't speak, necessary English at home, back home. So I understand that.
Yes. When I hear it in my students, I learned to appreciating their voices in the recordings,
Uh,
and it just something that keeps giving, and makes me very grateful for, because you hear them and you hear their progression in how they read in their recordings, and you're like, oh my God, what does she have any idea what she's achieving right now? And she probably doesn't know, or they probably don't know, but you can hear it in the recordings. And so I felt very proud of those recordings and those projects, and I thought, we should give this a second chance of being exposed. And so I also created little projects. Okay, so I knew that they were passionate about certain movies because they love animation movies, and so I would make a little, like, synopsis of a movie that they liked, and we would write a little paragraph about that, talking about what the movie's about, and then I put that together with the trailer of the movie. So I took the trailer audio out and I put their recording in. So it sounds like they're talking, narrating what's going on with the movie. And I started doing that with other students as well, because it's a process. We work through the text, the vocabulary, and through the pronunciation to a point where we go and say, yeah, this is good for recording now. And so that's where I placed a lot of those student projects in the YouTube channel as well. So
Oh, so basically they're making their own trailer. Is that what you're saying? You take the trailer out of it, and they will record their own. Can they create? They can create whatever they want to create.
yes, I asked them, what movie would you like to do? And there's students who have done, what's the movie with the penguins? Happy Feet. Happy Feet. And this student did it when she was 8. And I don't know what happened on YouTube, but it was trending. Like, it would have a lot of views for a long time, like 400 views, which for us was like phenomenal. And we didn't know what was happening. Well, everybody's just listening to it. And
Wow.
now she is 13. She's going to be 14. And she gets to look back at something that she did 4 or 5 years ago and be so proud of it and listen to the way she spoke at the time. Just because we did that little project and we published it there. So it's something else when you see something out there that you can share that you've done, right? And
Right.
that is something that when kids are kind of like overwhelmed with grammar, I asked them, well, why don't we do a project? Let's do a movie project. And then we work on that for, I don't know, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And then we get it and we publish it. And then they're ready to go back to grammar or the regular classes. So I have a number of these projects for students that have recorded their own narrations.
You make it so fun for them.
Yes, yes, it is. It's a
Yeah,
movie. And they are. I think it is because they are involved all throughout the
yeah,
process, the selection of the movie, the words that we put in. Do you like it? It's part of making them part of it. Do you like this word? Do you think this is too difficult to pronounce? Okay, let's change it. Let's change it. Do you want to
yeah,
change it to this? Is it's too long? Is this too long? Is this too short? They're involved 100% in the
yeah.
project. Or we have, like, say, when it comes to the recording part, do you like the way you pronounce this, or do you like it the other way better? Or should we do another recording? Should we just record this part? It's all about giving them the authority to change things, to edit things.
I think this is a great idea, and then I think we can do it in any language, right? Any movie
Oh,
trailer. Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. I haven't had the time to do that for other languages.
Yeah.
But right now I have a Chinese student who went through my Mundo Beyond the books in Spanish, and now she's
Uh-huh.
learning Mandarin with me. And she is like, first thing she asked was, "Well, where is the Mundo Beyond the book for Chinese?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't have one."
Oh, you need to start that soon. New project.
Yes, and I was like, well, we can write it if you help me. If you
Yeah.
help me edit it, and just she's a teen now, so she needed to start from a different place. And her first class was, we asked her. She was very afraid of Mandarin being a very different language. So our first lesson that I thought of was, why don't we let's make a list of your fears about learning Mandarin. And she started listing all of those, and we took notes on all of those. And I turned around and I said, why don't we have of the chapter 1 in the book, this lesson that we just had, the fears of learning Mandarin, because we
Yes.
talked to them, we talked about the fears, and then we talk about how to overwhelm them, or how they're kind of like myths, right? And I told her, why don't we make that chapter 1? Oh, yes. But, I can write it, but can you help me edit it? Oh, yeah, that'll be easy. So all of a sudden you get like little partners in crime that can help you
Yeah.
produce this work.
Well, your students are so lucky to have you, and we are so grateful that you're here sharing your story. You are so creative. I think your creativity just bring your students, the best of them out, like your creativity is bring the interest out of your students, and you care so much, you're so passionate. We need more teacher like you.
We as teachers, we and parents, we need to get together and start conversations and start getting conversations going so that we can feed off each other. And not just techniques, but it's mostly inspiration to get started, to keep going, to try something different. Like I did, I had to try something different for my kids that would work for them. Otherwise, I would not be satisfied with the results, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what we're doing with the Facebook page too, which is not actually my own page. I just joined the Facebook multilingual bilingual parents and kids
Right.
Facebook group.
Right.
I joined it afterwards, but when I joined, I think it was 2000 members, and now I don't know. I think it's 18,000 or something like that.
Yes, and
But
you help to manage the group?
I'm sorry.
Do you help to manage the group?
Yes, right now I am pretty much the only manager of the website because the founder and manager, she has no time right now to manage it. So I am the pretty much the only person managing the website.
Well, you see how many parents are in there. Like, doesn't matter what language.
Yes.
It's so important we all get together, have the conversation, have community, and if you're suffering, you're not suffering alone. If you want to share your joy and success, you're not alone, right? We're in this together. Doesn't matter what language or what level your kids are on. I think we all just trying our best and doing what we can to help them with learning. And for the kids at this age, I have an 8 and 10-year-old. They really don't see the benefit. Like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to? I don't think very few. I'm not gonna say 100%. Very few of the kids like, yes, I know I have more opportunity if I learn this language, Spanish and Mandarin. They don't really see that. But when they grow older, I've seen adults being mad and angry at their parents, like, how come you didn't teach me this language? You speak it, or Mandarin, why didn't you teach me? I could have know another language by now. So I think we just can't give up. We
Yes.
see the benefit
You,
of it.
yes, you always hear the regret when there
Right.
wasn't. But what you'll never see is regret when you learned it. It's like,
Right. It's like,
you
darn
never
it, I
hear.
know Spanish.
I know you never hear.
hear that.
Why did you have to teach me this language? I wasted so
You
much
never hear
time.
that. Yeah.
No,
You never hear that.
yeah. Like I'm so angry you taught me this language. Said no one ever. Yeah, that could be a
Never.
T-shirt, but you
Right.
hear it when there is a regret. So that tells you that yes, they don't know it, but they will appreciate it.
Right. I think that's a great reminder for all the parents out there. Like, when you're struggling, challenging, when they have pushing back, resistance, just remember, when they grow up, they're gonna thank you.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming. It was so fun chatting with you. And I'm gonna link. You can send me all the links, your YouTube, books. I'm gonna share it on the show notes so people can just click and find you there.
Oh, thank you so much, Yao Yao. I'm so sad that there's so much to talk about, but there's a little time. But
You need to come back on again.
would have loved to talk about more about Taiwan, because I know you have the Taiwanese heritage, and
Yes.
and it's such a dear place to me. And I was just back there after 18 years, and I had
It
some
changed a
special
lot.
moments. Yes,
Changed a lot,
yes.
right? After 18 years.
I think so. You have to look at carefully. But for me, going back, I saw things again, and it was just very nostalgic because they looked the way I remember them.
Yeah, I love that. Taiwan is always, maybe it's just me, but for me, doesn't matter how long I've been here in the States, I still consider Taiwan like my home.
Mm-hmm.
I love it dearly. I love the people there. I love the food. I live in
Yeah.
Taipei, and I really love the city. I can just walk everywhere.
Oh,
Only
yes.
thing I can complain about, two things, is the weather during summertime and all the bugs. I'm so scared. Like, I can walking on the night market or like the traditional market 市场, and you see
Yes.
like rats or like cockroaches. Oh! Okay, so
Yeah.
those are two complaints. That's it. Everything else I love.
I have no complaints. I just avoid certain things, but I have no complaints.
Yeah, but well, thank you. It's so nice chatting with you.
Thank you, Yaya, for the opportunity. I'll
Yeah,
see you around.
well,
I'll see you again
yes,
soon, some other time.
yeah. We
Thank
will stay
you.
connected. Yes, thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. If you learned something from today or you love this episode, please share it with your friend. And make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you'll get the latest news every single week. And you can find us on social media at Mandarin Together Now, Instagram or Facebook. Make sure you follow us. Also, if you want to find free resources from us, make sure you check out the show notes. It has all the links in there. Lastly, if you love our podcast and you want to support us, please leave a review because we would love to hear from you. It will mean the world to us. Let us know what you like about our podcast. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.